Well, JP, this is your first appearance on any podcast, whether that be this one or the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast, since the Bills went down in the fashion that they did. So I'm gonna
Yep.
throw you right into the fire right away. What are your thoughts on the Bills?
Not surprised. I'm starting to get more pessimistic every year as the time goes on. I'm not sure if we're ever gonna get to the big game. I don't know. Mahomes is a new Brady, and it sucks because we can't beat him, even though we have the second best quarterback in the league. But I don't know. It's tough because I still think we played a pretty good game. And I think if Deion Dawkins didn't get just absolutely driven into Josh Allen on that last play. Well, not the last play, but I think we might have won that game because we would have scored a touchdown there and our defense was actually starting to look good. So that's the only thing that I can't stand about all the topics going on. I can't stand the people saying that he should have just hit Diggs. He had the touchdown. It was the right play. Like it was the right look. I can't stand people talking about that. But I don't know. Considering we were 6-6 and I thought we were going to miss the playoffs, it was a good season. But it's going to be a completely different roster next year, so it'll be interesting. But it is always it sucks to be out, but it's always kind of fun looking towards the future. At least that's what Buffalo sports has trained me to do with the Sabres and the Bills, always looking towards the future. So
I,
I'm past it.
I got a
Hmm.
notification on my phone like right before we started recording about it was just like one of those you download the Bills app and you turn push notifications on. They'll update you with news articles and whatever else. The title of the article was, quote, "The future is bright." What the hell are we talking about? The future. The future's here. There's no bright. All right. It's about getting over the hump. There's no the future. We're not the Carolina Panthers. There's no the future is bright. The future is the present is bright. You just
Yeah,
can't win the big game.
we are going to get a lot younger this year, though.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
There's going to be a big youth movement next
and like
season.
a lot of our core players still are young. Like Josh is still young. We got Cook, Kincaid, Milano. Like they're all relatively young, but it is going to be a big overhaul. No more old guys, and it'll definitely be different. Future is still bright, but as long as we got Josh Allen.
Seen the last of the Hoyer Hyde safety tandem, which is sad, but
Yep,
you know, it's a business and
gotta
and also bodies break down, so it
gotta
is
gotta
what it
move on
is.
at some point. That's gonna the same parallel to the Sabres is gonna be Okposo and Gergensons. It's gonna be very emotional once they leave, especially for Christian.
Very emotional, yes. I
Kind of
mean,
off topic, but if they cut Tre'Davious White, it's gonna break my heart. That's
I
gonna
don't want
kill
them
Yeah,
me.
to. I
That's
don't
gonna
want
kill
them
me.
to.
it's a really interesting conversation. I I don't know. I honestly don't know what they should do or what they will do because I don't know. It's gonna be tough because we
I
already
f-
got Rasul and Benford. Like
I
I
feel
don't know.
so bad for the guy, man. Like,
And Kair is good, but yeah, I know it sucks for Trey.
mm, okay. All right, let's not go too far. But it's yeah, I feel terrible for Trey with two season-ending injuries, basically back to back. I mean, he came back like middle of last season, wasn't 100%, came back this season, was looking really good at the beginning of the year, and then just non-contact injury. Like, what are the odds?
Yeah, it's awful. It's just like Jack Quinn.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, if you want
Yeah,
to get back to the Sabres.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, not to turn this into a spin-off episode of the Buffalo Sports Talk podcast. Folks, welcome back to the Sabre Roundtable. My name is Jonah,
I'm JP.
BST wishes they were us. I'm Christian.
and as always, we'll be talking to you about everything Buffalo Sabres hockey and a little bit in the wider NHL world. There are some big headlines going around in the hockey world, especially now that it is officially the All-Star break, although not for some teams. There's still NHL games going on, and it is Wednesday, and the All Star game is, I believe, Saturday. So that's
I
weird.
did I did find that weird. Like I knew we had off, but I was like, wait, teams like played last night. They're playing tonight. Like We have
Well, I
like a
know,
lot longer off. Do we maybe play sooner after? Like I just feel like it's kind of weird.
We
I
had a
know,
couple games in hand too.
I know Ottawa had to
That's
make
true.
up all those games because they were on that Sweden trip.
That's a good point.
So yeah, we had like what, 7 games in hand on them at one point, or 7 more games played. So that's probably why you're seeing what you're seeing now. But it is the All Star break, which it's not the official halfway point of the season. The Sabres crossed that a few weeks ago, but it's a nice little stopgap to evaluate where your team is, what's going on, what are the storylines. Like you basically know what your team is by this point, how they play, just where they rank in the rest of the NHL. And currently, the Buffalo Sabres are a game under 500 at this point in time, heading into the All Star break. And they went on a West Coast swing. It did not start out so well, which would be a bit of an understatement. But they did win the last 2 games, and now they sit in a bit of an interesting spot. I don't know if we want to hop right into it, but well, let's go into the Anaheim debacle. Let's go right into it. So I don't know how much you guys caught because obviously this is a late night game, and you guys, unlike myself, actually have to work in the morning after some of these games. Were you able to catch any of this debacle?
I was actually looking forward to watching it because there hasn't been Sabres After Dark for a while. So I was up and I was streaming it on my phone, and right out the gate, it was just like this is gonna get bad. And then they went down 3-0, and then I was like, oh, all right, going to bed.
I'm pretty sure I watched it, but I'm pretty sure I don't remember like anything from it just because it was that forgettable. It was like that was just a bad performance. I don't remember it.
You know, I think I might step in for you here. I don't think you watched it, and you texted us like
Oh
halfway
no, you're
through,
right. You're right.
and you're like, "Oh, so this is the game that's gonna get Donnie canned. Seems like a good night to miss, huh?"
That actually I remember that now. I thought I was thinking of the next game. But yeah, you're right. Because I think I was studying and then I checked my phone like maybe an hour into the game. And I was like, holy hell, what is happening? And I just hear my
Mhm.
roommates pissed off in the background. I'm like, this is not good. Something's going down.
Yeah, it was ugly. The final score of 4-2 does not do it justice. The Sabres got their asses spanked by the Anaheim Ducks for 2.5 periods. I mean, they made it a game at the end, but I can't even say they controlled the third period. There was a point, I think they were 12 minutes into the third frame, and they had one shot, and they finished the period with like 15 or 16. So they just turned it on at the end, and it was as bad as it sounded. One of Anaheim's top prospects, Zellweger, was making his NHL debut. You knew he was going to get a first something goal point. He got a first point like clockwork. And I mean, like I'm jumping back and forth here. The second, or was it the second? I think it was the third goal where I think there was a sniper in the stands because Connor Clifton totally just ate it.
Oh
Uh,
my
it,
God, that was
it
so bad.
it led to an Anaheim rush the other way where he's the only guy back. So he's able to get himself back into the play, and he didn't do anything. He didn't take away the pass or try to take away the shot. And Mason McTavish makes him pay. And it was, oh man, like,
He
that's
basically
just,
skated right into the goalie. He looked like
uh,
his controller disconnected.
it was man. I don't think I can call it worse than the Columbus disaster. It's up there though. I would say this
Definitely
was
a close second.
it was up until the last 5 minutes the most lifeless performance of the season. It was bad.
Yeah, it was like watching some of the. I didn't even want to watch the highlights because when I woke up, I saw they lost, and I was like, "Oh, they looks like they made it a game." Until I realized that both of their goals came in like garbage time when they're trying to push for a comeback, and it's just like it's way too late at that point. And then you wonder, where was this the first 50 minutes of the game? And obviously those questions haven't been answered, but it was terrible. Like just no words to describe how bad that game was.
I gotta ask something. So when they made it 3-2, is it wrong for me as a fan to be rooting against them to tie the game?
No.
Because I may or may not have been doing so. I may or may not have not wanted them to tie that game.
It's okay to be cynical. That's what
Yeah.
Buffalo sports make us do.
It's not like we haven't done it in the past.
Felt
Yeah.
dirty. It felt like I was getting flashbacks to 2015. Like I was like, oh man, I'm rooting for them to lose. This
You
is
know,
wow.
you know what that is? You know when some people say our dad involved that a losing culture has been accepted in our locker room? That's what he's talking about. You just summed it up. Losing is acceptable.
So that's the best summation I think I can give of that game. Ugly, a waste of my time, and yet uh, it was fun. I actually had fun because by like halfway through the second period, you're like, this is like a colossal mess. And I also kind of thought that maybe, yeah, maybe that would be it for Don Granato. That's the type of game that gets a coach fired. But it did not.
No.
Um, and I guess you can kind of group these two wins together, sort of. The Sabres sweep the last two games of the road trip, so they take one in LA, win that 5-3, come from behind victory, and then the same thing in San Jose. They go down 2-0 early, and they finish that one with a 5-2 win. So
How many times this season is that gonna like it's just it
this-
it blows my mind how they just have not this is the identity of this team. It's going down and trying to come back and win. And you don't win games in this league doing that.
I don't know what was the record, because they were saying during the LA game, I'm pretty sure that their record while losing going into the third, or I don't know, multi-goal deficit after the first period. Like they had like one win on the season. It was probably the Pittsburgh game
Mhm.
back in November. I think that might be their only big comeback win. Yeah, they go down early, but it's not like they're the type of team that comes back. They usually don't. They usually don't. But hey, two multi-goal comebacks here. They win these two games. Now they're in an interesting spot. I guess if we want to jump right into Don Granato, I don't think. Yeah, I think these last two games were probably as best case scenario as it could have gone from him, aside from two blowouts. It wasn't like the team kept playing lifeless. It wasn't like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen stole a game or Levi stole games. Like they won these games. And you're going into the All-Star break, and I think Granato's here to ride this season out now. I think if maybe
Yeah.
the road trip was reversed, we'd have a much more interesting discussion. If they closed on that Anaheim game, then perhaps we'd be talking about his job security a little bit more. But man, it kind of feels like this was a positive swing that might save his job.
They went down, like we just said, they went down goals in their last two games. If they don't come back and win those either of those games, let's say they lose both of them, they go 0-3 out west. Almost certain he's gone by the time that plane lands in Buffalo.
It very well could have been an 0-3 road trip. Like it was
Yeah,
close. They
easily.
were
So
down
easily.
multi goals in both games.
Against some stellar teams too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We can talk about that a bit later about their quality of competition.
I I think if the road trip would have gone bad, I think he might have gotten fired. I don't want to say for sure, just because I'm still not sure Kevin would have done it because of the relationship. But this was the last chance. Like I don't think there should be any more conversations of him getting fired because like after the All-Star break, it's just a push to the end. Like this is a long break. If you want to fire your coach, I think this is your last chance, and they're not going to do it. So, gotta ride him out, and then we could have a serious conversation after the season, depending on how he finishes.
I honestly don't think they're gonna make a coaching change. Like even going into the off season, the front office, like at least Kevin Adams, it's just shown me that they're really dedicated to people, and that could be a really good thing, and it could also be a bad thing. No change sometimes is good, and also no change sometimes is really, really bad. Um, the power play, for instance, we'll get to that. But um, I just have a gut feeling like we're not making a coaching change, even going into the off season. And honestly, I would put money that I'm going to be correct come October of this year.
I don't disagree. Um, Especially because if you look at the numbers, and we tweeted it out, their 5-on-5 numbers have actually been pretty good. They've been pretty good since like around when Quinn came back. They've been better than last year, which is crazy to think. It's just that our power play's been so bad. So I think you will see some coaching changes. I just don't think it'll be Donnie. If they end this season on some sort of high note, if they flame out, then yeah, you could have a conversation. But I don't think they're going to.
They always do. They always end this when they're out of it. They always love to end the season on a positive note. It's like push to the end. It was good, and we'll just gear up for next season. Great.
That's the Kevin Adams Sabres, and then the Botterill Sabres was start hot, get everybody's hopes high, and then just completely and utterly fall on their
Like
face.
the wheels fall off, the engine explodes on
I don't
you,
know. I don't know which
Yeah.
and
one's
the car
worse.
falls off a cliff.
I do not
Yeah.
know which one is worse. I mean,
I would say the Botterill
probably
one's
I'd probably
definitely
say the
better.
Botterill ones,
Yeah,
but
that one's worse.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. You know what? Let's just get right into the tweet that we sent out that blew up for a good reason because it highlighted just something that it needs to be talked about. So, ever since the Sabres throttled the Leafs back in December, the 9-3 beating at home, after the game, all you heard the players talking about, or anybody, whether it was Kyle Okposo, whether it was Don Granato, they were telling us that they were trying to go back to the old system, that they were going to try to go back to the style that they played last year. And at times throughout this, since then, you can see what they're trying to get back to. It's the high flying Sabres that we came to know last season. Then there's other times where it was sort of obvious that this season's mentality was creeping in. It felt like at times that they were confused about their identity. And you could even maybe still argue that they are because it wasn't a perfect road trip that we're talking about. But digging into the numbers a little bit, it really surprised me how well they graded out. Now, it should be mentioned, I think they're 9-6-1 since that Leafs game. So good. Above 500, that's what you want to see. But it was a soft stretch. We've been talking about this stretch as the softest part of the schedule for a while now. And while they didn't fully take advantage, they did come out positively. But it should be shown that they have been actually playing really good at 5-on-5. So, Evolving Wilds, this is how they've ranked during that stretch. The Sabres are 4th in goals against per 60. Thank you, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. 8th in goals for per 60. 8th in expected goals for per 60. 8th in expected goals against per 60. Like, that's legitimately pretty good defense. 9th in expected goal share and 9th in Corsi percentage. Like, that's good hockey. That is really, really good hockey. It's at the point where it's a fact they're a better 5-on-5 team than last year, which is crazy, at least statistically. I mean, they were more fun and probably ended up scoring more goals, but they gave up more last year. Like if you're looking at the season, if you're looking at the Leafs game almost as a reset, which I think you reasonably can, they've been a damn good team at 5-on-5 since that game. So you may be asking yourself, why are they, why did the Ducks game happen? Why are they still losing a decent amount? Well, something that I don't think we've really talked about in the last few episodes, our good old friend, the power play. That is why. The power play, on the other hand, compared to their 5v5 numbers, they are 27th in goals for per 60, 28th in expected goals against per 60, 30th in actual goals against per 60, 30th in expected goals for per 60, and 30th in expected goal share. It sucks.
It's abysmal.
It is terrible. And it's at the point where you can considerably make an argument that if you had last year's power play, you might be in a playoff spot. Honest to God, if you had if you had at least, I mean, if you had collectively the same power play as last year, even if you just had the same, if you had that conversion rate, you're in a playoff spot. 100%. You're
League
in a playoff
average.
spot.
You
If
probably
were
steal a
16th,
few more
you'd be-
games.
yeah. If you were 16th overall power play, we'd probably at least be in the conversation for actually going to the playoffs.
I mean, I think they're on pace for half the amount of power play goals compared to last year. I mean, that's got to be worth what? 3, 4, 5 wins? I mean, that's a huge swing in the standings. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It is frustrating because I mean, we've been talking about it for so long now, and it is legitimately killing this season. At least any chance. I mean, they're not a perfect team. Okay, you don't. It doesn't need to be said. Their defense as a whole isn't spectacular. Their actual goal scoring isn't spectacular, but you can see that at least during this stretch, they deserve better than 9-6-1. If you at least look at this stretch, they deserve better than that. But they're doing it to themselves. The power play stinks. There's hardly been any changes. The head coach had to step in, and even then, it's not even producing better results. It's a disaster. It's a disaster of a power play. It's something that can't go unnoticed.
And the head coach stepping in shouldn't be a thing.
It shouldn't have to happen.
No, it should not have to happen. And
How
also,
often?
if the head coach is stepping in, it shows you that you've kind of lost faith in what your assistants are doing. So if you want my honest opinion on how you solve this, whether it's not going to be in season, but going into the off season to improve on this power play is you can the assistants and you bring in and you have Donnie, and if you want to keep Donnie around, okay. You can the assistants and you let Adams and Granado, find new bench bosses. And then B, maybe you make a splash in free agency so you could take some heat off of Tage Thompson on his side, so it could open him up to more opportunities because teams know how to defend against it now. It's like when it comes to the power play, everyone's shadowing Tage Thompson, whether he's healthy or not. There's always a guy over there because they know if he gets a clean shot off, it's going to be in the back of the net. So you got to find someone to, draw some attention back the other way, maybe spread it out a little more, and that'll open up the bumper position that they have not used all season, which that they are now finally starting to figure out. Good job. It'll open the bumper spot up, and maybe you can get more opportunities there. But this doesn't seem like a fix that's going to save our playoff hopes. But what else is new?
Genuine question. Is Tage's analytics, like his power play analytics, are they actually positive this year? Like I don't think I've seen a player card of him this year. I'm genuinely curious.
I'm somewhat positive that their actual, like, as bad as their offensive generation is this year, it was worse last year. I'm pretty sure like their actual expected goals numbers on the power play are better this year, which is incredible. I don't know. Let's take a quick gander at Tage's RAPM charts. Yeah, they're positive, slightly, not anything nuts, but they are positive, other than actual goals for. I just don't. It shouldn't be this bad. It shouldn't be this bad. I need to take a look at the actual power play rankings. I need to see what teams they're ranked by, because it feels like it, like with the amount of talent you have, like you can't even get even like somewhat below league average, but you're in the basements. I think over this same stretch since the Leafs game, I think they're sitting around a 14% conversion rate. That's awful. That is awful. Opposing teams' penalty kills have over 85% when the Sabres get a man advantage. It should not be that bad.
And there's probably a 5% chance that we're going to get scored on when there's a power play.
So here is every team below the Sabres: Calgary Flames, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Blackhawks. And then here are like the next few spots above them. It's the Washington Capitals, Columbus Blue Jackets, the St. Louis Blues, and then the Winnipeg Jets. None of those teams, other than Pittsburgh, stacked with offensive talent. And Pittsburgh is like Buffalo. It's the same thing. It's like, how are you this bad with all the offensive talent you have? I mean, I'm trying to scroll up the list. I can't find a playoff team in here besides Winnipeg in the bottom 10. I mean, or I guess Philadelphia. But it's insane. It cannot continue to be this bad.
Oh, it can.
These 5v5 numbers, they've seriously made me like reevaluate at least the last month. And the last month has had some lows, as to be expected, because this has been a miserable season. But hypothetically, let's say that these results are not it's not a product of a soft schedule. Let's say they finish the season, like from the Leafs game to the end of the year, they finished top 10 in all these 5-on-5 categories. It would make me reevaluate Granato as head coach. Do I think there's better coaches out there that could do more? Yeah, I'll always think that, because there's some really damn good head coaches in the NHL. But, I can't treat it as though it's a train wreck, that it's this huge leap back from last year. But if the power play continues to struggle just as much throughout the end of the season, that still falls on the head coach. I can only give him so much credit. If the 5v5 play is better, that's great. I mean, hey, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a team that is awesome at 5-on-5 but stinks on the power play, or a team that stinks on 5-on-5 but is electric on the power play?
I think the Sabres have been the opposite before. And that was with the old core. Their power play was first in the league for a good amount of time, and then the 5v5 was beyond atrocious.
Even the COVID season, in the short time that the unit of Dahlin, Eichel, Reinhart, Taylor Hall, and Olofsson were a thing, they were dynamite. That was the only way that team could score for like a good chunk of that season. I would rather live through a team that's good at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
If this continues, like, there has to be accountability at some point. Yeah, I don't know if that's. I mean, the easiest decision is to fire Matt Ellis, but NHL coaches, they have loyalties to their assistants. It's just how it goes. So I don't know. It just can't continue. It bears repeating.
Well, it looks like for the meantime, it's going to continue.
Well, and the other thing too is like they acknowledge, because the power play did disappoint them last year. Like it failed them at the end of the season. I mean, they needed wins in crunch time, and they couldn't get goals out of their power play. And Granato was saying in the postseason presser that they recognized that they wanted to improve there, and it's gotten even worse. So it's almost I can't even give Ellis or someone the benefit of the doubt that, oh, okay, well, maybe if they just get a full off season to work on it, they'll be fine. Supposedly this was supposed to be the improved one.
It was not.
Yeah.
I think the PKs at least been a little better though.
Well,
They're average.
Isn't that such the weird thing about this season? You've gotten improved 5-on-5 play at least collectively. Like the offense stepped back, but the defense has gone up. So your 5v5 play has improved. Your goaltending has immensely improved, and even your penalty kill has improved. And here you are. You're nowhere near the. Well, I shouldn't say nowhere near the race, but you're on the outside looking in by a pretty decent margin.
You have to go on a pretty wild run. You got to start rattling off like three in a row and then a loss, three in a row and then an OT loss, and two in a row. Just it's like it's right there. It's like the one thing that we didn't think was gonna fail.
And
It's
it
what failed.
and you would think it'd be the easiest thing to fix.
Yeah, I know. It's not hard.
Like
It
of all the
really is
things,
not rocket science.
frustrating.
Get off this topic.
All
I'm
right,
done with this.
let's move on to the goaltending rather quick. JP, I think you should take your victory lap around Christian since you weren't here last time to do it. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is continuing his tremendous play.
He's here, and he's here to stay. Hopefully it's not just UPL in the month of January, and that's just a annual seasonal thing where he's just incredible for a month and everybody loves him. But
And I made that point clear. That's what I'm worried about, okay? Good for him, but I need a full season, okay?
But if you look at it, the full season, okay, we sent this in our group chat. I don't know if it really circulated. He's having the best season as a Sabres goaltender since, actually, I don't know when it's since, but
Anders
since,
Nielsen.
yeah,
Real
he's having
big expectations to live up to.
he's having better years than prime Ryan Miller on the Sabres.
That's one stat, Jameson. That's one stat.
It's one stat. I will
It's
use it in my
one.
favor.
Okay. That man's name is in the rafters. Do not compare him to UPL at this moment in time.
I'm not comparing legacies. I'm just saying this season UPL is living up to it.
Well, if he was better than all of prime Ryan Miller's years, that means he should win the Vezina, right?
Well,
is he in the Vezina conversation?
It's too bad the team's not backing him up at all.
UPL for Vezina. Start the train.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
You have to be a good team to be a Vezina.
I was getting a kick out of discussing a possible UPL extension last episode. I was laughing due to I took a step back and I'm like, wow, I'm talking about this with Christian of all people.
Yeah.
Me and him, like the two most anti-UPL people in the past. But yeah, I mean, he's just even the San Jose game, not one of his better games. The first goal, not good. And even in his bad games, he's good. He helps the team win. It's crazy. I think we're deep enough into the season where we can just say like this guy's having a great year. It's not a hot stretch. It's not just a month and a half like it was last season. The guy's been good the entire year outside of maybe 1 3-game stretch. It's awesome. It feels good. There's a lot of teams in the NHL that do not feel good about their goaltending. And the Sabres, you don't have to worry about it. We'll talk about Devin Levi. Devin Levi, it's more about what's best for him. It's not really about how he's actually playing. Why don't we can jump over to Devin Levi. So Levi gets the start against the Kings. And his first 10 minutes did not exactly go well. 3 goals. 3 goals, and immediately every single person is piling on him, saying he should be in the AHL, saying that he's just clearly not where he needs to be, ourselves included. But got to give credit to him. He turned it around, made 20-something consecutive saves, and helped lead the Sabres to victory. I mean, it was not they didn't dominate the rest of that game, but they needed him to make the saves, and he made them. So it's interesting because that's the last game he plays, and then after this road trip concludes, Levi gets sent down to the AHL. Comrie gets called up. Now your first thoughts are, well, obviously they just want to get Levi games, and Comrie just had a kid, so there's some good vacation time for him. But the interesting wrinkle in this story is that Lance Lysowski of the Buffalo News put out a column just about the All-Star break as a whole, and he kind of alluded to the fact that it seems like Levi might be staying down for good, or at least he won't be coming back up at the end of the break.
I wouldn't be upset about it. I think it's what he needs. You know, I mean, it's better for him to be playing games at maybe a slightly lower level to help his development than sitting behind UPL and getting maybe like one of four starts every so often. So what? He'd only be playing maybe like 3 games a month, like maybe two. But yeah, I think it'd be best to just keep him down unless like Comrie just, goes out and just lays like 2 eggs in a row and is starts like. And if you're in some sort of a sprint to the end here and you're trying to at least make it competitive, the last thing you want is for that, bad goaltending to sneak up on you and bite you. So I don't know. I think it'd be good for him to stay down, but unless it was like an egregious emergency, then I would call him back up. But
Yeah, I think it makes complete sense. I think it's probably a little overdue for Kevin to make this move with how good UPL has been playing and how he's been our clear number one goalie and been taking, 3 or 4 games. And I think Comrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was been doing pretty good with the Amerks. So call him back up. He could play every few games and Levi can play the majority of the games down the AHL and it's a win-win for everybody. So it's the right move and it's probably a little overdue.
Yeah, it would be ironic if he finally gets a permanent place of residence down in Rochester after he has a pretty strong performance overall in LA. Would be kind of ironic there. But if that's the scenario, then look, I mean, we've been advocating it for a few weeks now. It's where he should be. And
mhm.
especially now, look, the crease is not suffering. Even if Eric Comrie comes in and is not a good backup option, there's playoff teams in the NHL that do not have good backup goalies. All that matters is that your starting goaltender can handle the load. And that's exactly what Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is doing. He's been awesome. So there's no more reason to have Levi up. The idea that he was going to be your starter was sort of predicated on you don't have a better option than him, that you didn't have a better option than a 21-year-old rookie. But now you do. The race is over, I guess. And Levi has, you could almost say he's conceded. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has won the battle for the crease.
I thought you were about to say has won the election.
He's won it for now.
For now.
I think Levi will probably be back up next year. So
Yeah,
hopefully it's a short stay down there.
Before we get off of Luukkonen, I want to ask you guys this: does Kevin Adams deserve credit for any part of Luukkonen's emergence?
I absolutely. I mean, most of the couch GMs that were Sabres fans wanted to trade him this offseason. So, yeah, Christian
me.
included. We definitely had conversations. So I think absolutely. He put his faith into him. He said in the offseason how, they had dinner together. He talked to him. He's like, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to hear this out. And he did. And I think it showed. And I think UPL, was obviously discouraged last year with Levi coming in, but he took the crease over this year, and that's because of Kevin Adams. Kevin could have easily traded him away, and UPL could be prospering with someone else, and people still would have been fine with the move. But he put his faith into him, and he was right. Kevin was right. As much as not everybody agrees with his stance on his goalies going into the year and how we should have made another big move, no one would have thought that UPL was going to play this good. So you got to give Kevin a lot of credit.
Yeah, it's a good sign to see that the GM sticks by his guys.
Christian, you don't have to praise him here. Don't let
hmm,
JP force your hand, because I'm
no,
gonna get into my little thing, and it does not agree with JP's. I'll put it that way. So make your
no,
own choice here.
no. I mean, this is my own choice because, like, honestly, if it was a different GM in there, I probably could see him being traded at some point, knowing that you had Devin Levi coming up. But this has been a recurring behavior with Kevin Adams at GM. He makes commitments to these guys, especially his prospects, and he tries to see him through as far along as he can. And most of the time it's worked out. I'd say it's been a little bit more of a mess with the free agent signings, him trying to stick by those guys because it's like A, the ones you sign are a dime a dozen, and B, now you got four guys on NHL contracts in the AHL. But when it comes to the prospects, even if they are from past regimes, sorry, even if they're from past regimes, it's very telling of a person Kevin Adams is to, give these guys so many chances to succeed here, which is great for fostering a good culture.
All right. So here's my little take on the whole thing. So he obviously deserves some. Okay, he didn't trade UPL. UPL was clearly the other guy that they wanted to be with Levi, and he deserves some credit. But all of it, I'm not gonna give all of it to him. Mostly because I guess I guess I guess I should phrase this a little bit better. I guess Adams deserves credit for Luukkonen in the sense that yeah, he stuck by him, he didn't trade him. I still don't I don't like the way that he handled the goalie situation in the sense we still walked into the season with 3 goaltenders on the roster, and that persisted up until damn near the new year. Luukkonen wasn't projected to be the number one guy, and I guess I'm not saying he should have been. There was no inclination that he was going to be that, but I guess that's sort of the thing. He wasn't. It's to me, it's kind of like a bad process leading to good results is still bad process. And it's not. I want to give him some credit. Like I said, he's still stuck by Luukkonen. They had those. Remember they met with each other a few times in the off season. I think Luukkonen came over to Kevin Adams' house and they had dinner. He clearly still believed in Luukkonen somewhat. I'm just not. I don't think I'm going to be
I'm giving credit to UPL. I'm not justifying everything he did with the goalies. I'm just saying with UPL and him giving giving his faith to UPL and kind of riding the season kind of on him. I'm giving his kudos to that. But the rest of the goalie situation, obviously, I'm not justifying all of that. But
That's fair.
It does make it look a lot better, though. Like you said.
Yeah. I guess if I were to rephrase, I guess maybe does he deserve credit for the goalie situation? But I think we all got the same opinion there.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say he kind of just lucked into it with UPL, which I
mean,
really
it's kind of true. I mean, that's any
it's
goalie,
kind of
right?
not. Yeah.
It's
Any goalie you could luck into.
You luck
Yeah.
into any goalie. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I remember defending Adams during the off season. There wasn't a lot of goalies to go after. There were
Mhm.
none in free agency, other than Alex Lyons, which I mean he's doing well, but who would have saw that coming? He tried
Yeah.
to go after Hellebuck, didn't
Yep.
happen. He extended long term. You would have been taking a gamble on someone like John Gibson. It's tough. The goalie market stinks, and the best way to do it is in house. So you can't totally fault him for that. All right, let's get to the depressing news. So the story of the San Jose game in the third period, Jack Quinn takes the puck on the wall, kind of turns into the wall. San Jose player kind of pushes him in an awkward position. Quinn very obviously does something to his ankle, or at least his left leg. Couldn't get up immediately, leaves the game, and after a few days, we find out that he is going to be out for the next 8 weeks. Now, on the bright side, it sounds like it has nothing to do with his Achilles, which that is awesome news. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has nothing to do with his knee. So that's also good news. That would be the second worst scenario there. So I'm no doctor, but it seems like he did something to his ankle. My guess would be a break, but maybe there's something else. Maybe an MCL tear or something.
Just terrible luck. And of course it happens to the one player that is just coming off a 6-month rehab for his Achilles and who's made a massive improvement to our lineup since coming back. Like we didn't realize how much we missed Jack Quinn until he came back. I mean, we kind of had ideas with how the season started, but it was seeing that happen was the story of the season, man. Just
Your heart broke for him.
yeah, an injury. You feel for a player, and it's just injury after injury with this team, and that in the power play. I'm surprised they've been playing as well at 5v5 as they have been, like with everything that's happened. But mm, just I hope he gets better soon. Hopefully the recovery is not too bad, and hopefully he's back on the ice within, I don't know, a month and a half. You got a couple weeks coming off the All-Star break, so maybe you can make it back for the last few games, or they
Yeah,
might
it'll
just
be.
shut him
I
down.
was gonna say it's gonna be interesting to see where they stand. 8 weeks. What is that? Late March. So
Mhm.
they're gonna have. I mean, what's he's playing at the most? 6, 7 games, maybe. I mean,
Unless,
maybe playoff hockey.
unless
Maybe,
it's playoff hockey.
maybe. In that scenario, he's probably trying to make his way back. But if
Eight,
they're in a Hail Mary scenario, or just if they're just out, I wouldn't even bother suiting him up. Wouldn't even
eight and a
wouldn't even
half
touch it.
percent chance. 8.5%. I didn't hear no bell. This season is not over. I can't wait to come on when we record next time and just be like, well, nah, the season's over.
Yeah.
I
I,
feel
I
for Jack Quinn.
yeah, I really hope for the best for him. It sucks. Really, really terrible season after a really good season last year. And I think what sucks worse for the team is they've probably been our best line. The kids line has been really good recently, especially the last few games. Like even the Sharks game, like they're really good. Like that line has been cooking. And now, I mean, who knows? I mean, Cousins has been playing very good recently since Quinn's come back. So now that Quinn's hurt again, like, are we going to lose some of his impact again? Like, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think the most logical thing is to maybe put Benson on that line now, because he's kind of been all over the lineup recently. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do and what roster move they make in corresponding of putting him on the IR.
Yeah.
Um,
We neglected to mention Zach Benson did get a healthy scratch for the Kings game.
yeah.
Which
That could just be maintenance.
is that his first of the year?
That's got to be one. If it's
Well,
not
I
his,
think
if it's not
it was
his
Granato
first,
shaking up the lineup after a disastrous performance.
I
yeah, that
think
too.
they said it was just a night off. I mean, he is young, but it is weird to do it going into the All-Star break. I think he had other nights off early in the season, but he was kind of fighting an injury. So I think you're right. It is
I
his
think
first healthy scratch.
since getting like the nod of approval from the organization, I don't think he's been scratched. So
Which is great.
I mean
It means
it's
he's been
great.
impactful to the
Yeah.
team, He hasn't gone cold. A lot of these young guys, they have hot starts or they have these little spurts here and there, and then they're just ice cold, and then they usually get sent down, and you don't even realize it. You're like, oh, I forgot he hasn't scored an X amount of games, or he hasn't, he's been a ghost out there. But Zach Benson has made a great impact to this roster most nights as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his production isn't there. Like he is on a goalless and pointless streak, but he's still making impacts. Like you could see it as long as you're watching the game. You could see that he hasn't
He's a
been.
playmaker.
Yeah, he's still been good enough.
Yeah. And they got I mean he ever since the lineup got healthy, I mean it was right around that Leafs game. I think he might have been that game he got thrown back into a forechecking role. So I'm not really worried about any dip in production there. It was just notable. It was notable that he was the guy Granato chose. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the trickle down effect of the Quinn injury is. Who they call up is going to be the interesting question. They need a forward. They're going to have to call someone up. I don't know. Are they going to double down and make Victor Olofsson the Jack Quinn replacement once again?
Well, I hope not. I I I predict it's gonna be Tyson Jost. He's coming back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, that was gonna be
Everybody's
my
saying
guess.
like bring up Kulik, but
Not gonna
He
happen.
hasn't. He's since he's gotten back from the World Juniors, he's actually been. He hasn't been the best. So it's not even really the right time to bring Kulik
Yeah.
up. Like,
Kulik's not going to happen
yeah,
because
it's
of
not
that,
happening.
but also because, look, the season isn't dead, but it's damn near close, and they are not going to burn a year of his ELC
No, yeah, absolutely not.
attempting to,
Yeah,
climb back into the race. Now, Isaac Roseanne, he doesn't have any opportunity to slide his contract. This year is being burned. So you can make an argument there that he should be called up. And I would support that. I would.
I would too.
Yeah,
So, but you're not. I don't think you're going to see Yuri Kulik on the Sabres unless it's one of those. Like it was funny enough when Olofsson got called up for the very first time with around 6 games to go in the season, so that they don't have to burn a year.
the memories.
Fun times, fun times. All right, but I think that's basically going to wrap up everything Sabres related. So obviously nothing going on this week. All-Star break. I can tell you that next episode we are going to do some mid-season grading. So stay tuned for that. That'll probably record that Sunday or Monday. But yeah, how about we get into some NHL talk?
Yeah, how about Jonah? How about you break some breaking news right now on the pod
Well,
right
yeah,
now?
I guess, yeah. This is not how I intended to start it, but it does sort of seem like that Elias Lindholm is headed to the Vancouver Canucks, and Andrei Kuzmenko is going to be a part of the return. According to David Pagnotta, Kuzmenko is going to be a part of the deal, but this is all ongoing right now. Apparently, Kuzmenko has a no trade list, and Vancouver is on it. So they're trying to get him to waive it before this goes down.
That would be funny.
You'd be like, nah, not gonna do that.
What was the trade in the offseason where that happened? It was supposed to be this monstrous trade between, was it the Flyers and I think the Blues? And they tried, I think Philly tried to get Torrey Krug.
Oh yeah.
And was it Krug that wouldn't waive his no move clause?
I think it was.
It was supposed to be like this huge, like 6-7 piece trade, and then it just turned into like Kevin Hayes for a 6th.
Yep.
So that'd be pretty funny. But yeah, so maybe we'll have some news on that by the end of this podcast. So big trade there. That's an interesting one for Vancouver, because to me, like Elias Lindholm is basically just Bo Horvat, and they traded Bo Horvat a year ago. That is a weird one. Also, I don't know. It's because it's weird because he's obviously a center. He's the first line center for the Flames. Is this Pettersson replacement in the effect of him asking out?
Maybe start the rumors.
Could be speculation. We could start some. We could spread some misinformation and say that he wants out.
We are part of the pro Pettersson propaganda here in Buffalo, but yeah, I think the thing is, I'm pretty sure Lindholm is a Swede, so it could be because I don't know if Vancouver has any other Swedes, so it's almost like one of those. Hey, we got one of your buddies on here now. I don't know. I do not know. So stay tuned for that. See where we're at in about 20 minutes or so when we kind of wrap this up. All right, moving on. Let's get to just the huge hockey news. It's everywhere. We've been waiting for this for a long time. The 2018 Hockey Canada scandal. We finally have the 5 players that were supposedly involved, or at least the five main players. Now, if you go through the actual testimony, supposedly 8 players were involved. But we have the 5 main names that have been kind of eluding us for a while. Everybody's been guessing forever who was going to be players. Like, was it Drake Batherson? Was he involved? Was Brett Howden involved? Everybody had a guess. We have the names. So no surprise here. Alex Formenton was one of the names, and he surrendered himself to the police. And here are the 4 new ones. So Carter Hart, definitely the highest profile name on here. He's one
Hmm.
of the names on here. Dylan Dubé, who by the way was the captain of that Team Canada team. And then you have Kel Foote and Ryan McLeod, who are both New Jersey Devils. So we have the 5 names. Um, it was a very interesting lead up to this. It started with Dylan Dubé asking for to leave the team for mental health reasons. And then Kel Foote and Ryan McLeod, it was they missed a team meeting the night before, and then we found out the next day that they were a part of the situation. And I believe it was the same thing with Carter Hart, where you saw that he got his release from the or asked for a leave of absence from the Flyers. So
Hmm.
speculation, at least for a large part of this, is done. You have the 5 players
Hmm.
turning themselves or Formanton's turned himself in. I don't know if the other players have officially surrendered yet.
Yeah.
Just a
Well,
crazy, just a
yeah.
crazy situation.
Could I ask, when it comes to depth in the Devils organization, were McLeod and Foot, were they like nightly guys for them? Because I know their names.
I
Like they,
think McLeod was. I think McLeod was like a pretty decent bottom 6 player. I think. Obviously, I'm
okay.
not. I'm no Devils fan, but I think he was. I think Foot was more on the outside looking. I mean, I can look at their. Guess I can look at their statistics for the season.
It's just like imagine that's like Krebs and Olafson or something crazy like that. Just like throwing, 2 names out there, but it's like 2 on the same team. Like organizationally that sucks,
So
but
so Cal Foot has played 4 games this season.
oh, okay.
So he's kind of on the fringes. I guess I can look at Ryan McLeod super quickly.
And not
Yeah, it
trying to take
is.
not trying to take away from like the severity of what's going on, but it's
Hold
like,
on. I've been mistake. I don't want to. I misspoke. Michael McLeod. Michael McLeod was the 5th name. Not Ryan McLeod. He plays for the Oilers.
oh,
Definitely,
okay.
definitely don't want to mix up names in this situation. But yeah, so Michael McLeod, he has played 45 games this season, so very much a nightly player. 20 points in 45 games, so an impact player for the Devils.
It's a tough loss if you're the Devils. Like, I'm not trying to take away from the severity of this situation because, like, if it, what allegedly whatever happened comes out and it's all of the speculation's real, it's like you're done. You're not coming back from that.
I would imagine as soon as I think London police just called for a press conference um, coming up. I think as soon as official charges are placed, I would assume that they're done. And I
There
also
are, yeah.
I don't know. I think because it's Canadian police, I don't know if they're allowed to re-enter the U.S. So in any
Oh,
hypothetical scenario where somehow the NHL let them play, I don't know, maybe because nothing had been proven or whatever, I don't think they could play in games in the United States.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just obviously
y-
just such a horrific situation, just
I mean,
terrible stuff.
awful, but it's like you make your own bed, man. It's like you have everything, man. You have the talent, you're playing in the
The captain of
NHL,
the captain of the
captain
damn
of
team
the
was took
World
part in
Junior
this.
Team.
The
Yeah,
captain of the team, just insane.
just unbelievable. Especially if all of this alleged talk, you know, is proven. It's like nobody's gonna be rooting for Canada anymore. Like
No.
Canada will be rooted for as much as Russia is.
And it's not like
Like
this is a one-off situation.
no,
It
not
was
at all.
discovered recently. They had all the funds that they had like a side fund for paying off of victims, right? And doesn't the 2003 World Junior team have like the team that
Hmm.
Derek Roy was on?
Yep.
Didn't that team have allegations against them too? Just a
You think
that
there'd
that
be repercussions, right?
you think it at least like I mean, how is it taking 6 years for this to come out?
It's the victims stay quiet. It's the same thing that happened with I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. The Blackhawks player,
Well,
Cal
yeah,
Beach. I
I'm
mean, that
not,
took
yeah,
a while.
Kyle Beach,
I'm
yeah.
not trying to shift blame onto the victim here at all.
No,
No, not whatsoever. I'm
I
talking
know what
about,
you mean.
like, did you read about the one part where supposedly, I mean, not to get too graphic here, but what was going on in the room was going on between at least those 5 players with one other, with one woman involved. But supposedly there was one player looking like he was just in there watching for 10
Oh yeah,
minutes and then just left
yeah.
Ooh.
and didn't know. Supposedly they were like confused. They didn't know if it was like consensual stuff or not. Which, like, if he's in there for like a minute, like, okay, but what he just sat for 10 minutes and then just didn't speak about it for years on end.
It's just it's a tough situation. It's really sad. But I mean, you make one decision and it could affect everything, even though they were like
Yeah.
Mhm.
kids. But you think you're on top of the world and it could come down really quick. I mean, especially, I'm not disproving any of the other person's careers, but I mean, Carter Hart was going to be a great goaltender his entire career. If the Flyers got good, he might have had chance to be like a Hall of Fame goaltender. He's
Alex
been that good.
Alex
But
Formanton had like 30 points as a rookie.
Mhm.
Like these, and Dylan Dubé was once a highly touted prospect. I mean,
yep,
really, and McLeod's having a good season. So other than like Cal Foot, like these are all guys who like your careers were there. Like you had your
yep.
whole life ahead of you, and you just threw it away. Like
For some dumb
stupid,
stuff.
just dumb.
Some dumb stuff, man.
If this all comes out to be true, they all should be rotten in jail. Just
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible
Very
stuff.
sad.
And if there were more, and if there was more players involved, I hope they find out. I hope they discover what happened.
Mhm.
Yep.
But
This is another thing for Danny Briere to deal with as the Flyers GM.
what a
Another
first,
fire to
what
put
a
out.
Not
first
catching a
year as
break.
GM. I mean, Jesus, your son's an
Stuff.
idiot.
Yeah.
You gotta handle that in like your first. Like that was like a week into his tenure. Like all of a sudden, you got to worry about your own kid. Obviously, this happened, and something else happened around that time. What else was it? It was like right after he took GM. Ah,
Mm, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. But I mean that the no trade that we talked about earlier and Cutter Gauthier, it's like
Oh, Cutter Gauthier. Yeah, like
well,
what
yeah,
a
that
first
was
year is.
yeah.
What a first year as general manager. You
Yep.
got to deal with personal stuff. Your top prospect asks out, and you got to be now your top goaltender is supposedly a criminal.
And they've had a good year.
Yeah. On top of all that,
Yeah.
they've had a good year.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully, yeah. I don't I don't want to get into too speculation stuff, but obviously I did see one tweet circulating saying that Briere should be embarrassed that he was trying to trade Hart, that that he knew about all this stuff. Now, like, I don't want to get into speculation stuff because it's all what it is. It's speculation, but I think that's a lot of jumps. It's a lot of leaps through logic to just assume that Briere knew every single detail and just tried to dump Carter Hart off. If he
Mhm.
did know, if it comes out that he knew, then yeah, that's terrible. Guy should be fired. He should never work in the NHL again if he knew what happened. Um, but back in the summer, I mean, did anybody think the Flyers were going to be good?
No.
No, everybody thought they were rebuilding, so it kind of made sense that they were pawning off Carter Hart. I mean, geez, the Sabres were supposedly interested in him. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we were looking
Mhm.
at him as a potential option,
Thank God.
and it wasn't like Briere was trying to dump him off. Remember the ask was like 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
It was a hefty price.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I don't want to get too into speculation. It can get those conversations can turn ugly fast because you never have enough info. In any case, we're probably going to have to continue with this for a while. The trial supposedly not going to be till 2026.
Ooh,
So-
that's a long time.
So I guess we'll just see how that goes. But obviously, a huge revelation in the case now that the names are public. All right. Let's get into. How about we get into some Jersey talk? So Christian, we talked a little bit about the All-Star jerseys last episode. We got a new batch of jerseys this week. Stadium Series jerseys. The Devils, the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Flyers. All of their jerseys were released, and they are they're a bit interesting, I think. I like the Rangers one. I do like the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
I kind of dig the Flyers, I think. I don't
It's
know.
look with the okay. Let me piggyback off you really quick. The Rangers one, I don't hate. I think it's kind of cool how they just kind of did the abbreviations,
The
and
numbers are
I like
huge
the
though
numbers.
on
Yeah,
the
the numbers are
shoulders.
huge. Again, I don't hate it. The striping completely fine. It's a little weird with the colorway. Well, I guess that kind of bleeds into the striping. It kind of looks like they put a white t-shirt over a Rangers jersey. Um, but going to the Flyers, it's the same thing.
I was gonna
Okay.
say it
The
doesn't look that
Flyers do
different.
this. Pardon my French. The Flyers do the same shit. Anytime they go to the NHL jersey database and look at the Flyers jerseys throughout the years, all they do is change the striping on the arms and that's it. And they'll flip a shade of
Hey,
orange
I
every
was gonna say
25
don't
years.
forget about the change in orange. Okay, it's
Yeah,
big.
the little change that they make every 25 years is the change in orange. It's the same crap. They do the same thing. It's so boring. It was like when Detroit did their original reverse retro, which was like a blank white jersey with some silver striping and then the logo. It's like be a little more creative. I know the logo's iconic and it is iconic, but it's like you got to go in a different direction here. And quickly speaking on the Devils and the Islanders, below average. Islanders one, I hate it. I think it's gross. I
I
think it looks like
yeah,
a practice jersey.
I think the Islanders one is definitely the one that has generated the most conversation, and for all the worst reasons. It's terrible. It's
I th
bad. It's
I
so
think th
bad.
I think they tried to go with like they're playing the Rangers, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's just kind
So
of a Subway Series thing.
I think they tried to go with an abbreviation as well, but this one it's just it looks like they used big font type letters and then just threw it on a it's bad. It's I can't even describe how bad it is. And the Devils kind of the same as the Flyers. It's like the same thing. It's just all red.
I
Yeah,
kind of dig the Devils one actually. I think it's kind of cool.
I think that's definitely the best one. I think, but I don't know. It's like the more I look at it, it's just like super simple. I don't know.
There's no
I saw
contrasting
I
colors.
I
It
kind of
it looks
saw.
gross.
I don't know if you guys can like look it up super quickly, but it's like I saw like every single Stadium Series jersey, and just like as a collection, they all stink. Like there have been like one or two good ones. It has just been not a good line of jerseys, other than the first ones that come to mind. Like the if you look at Detroit, if you look up Detroit's what they had during that time, it's really good. But yeah, like I don't know. I hope the Sabres are never in a Stadium Series because who knows what abomination they'll bring back.
It seems like they've kind of just the Stadium Series jerseys seem to have gone in the same direction as like the Capitals did the Caps. It's like there's either abbreviations or there's really big font letters or
Hmm.
maybe there's
Or
like
the
a
or
logo that's
the
stretched
chrome
out,
helmets, the chrome
chrome
helmets.
helmets.
That's where
Like
they made these debut.
I don't knock them for trying new things. I love that they're trying new things, but it's just whatever
Yeah.
direction they're going in with this, it's not it just it ain't it. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
it.
I mean I think I touched on it last episode. If you just try new stuff, like I'm good with that. I like new
Yeah.
stuff. It's just I don't know. Bad line of jerseys, and I can't even like point the finger at Fanatics. It's still Adidas. Still Adidas.
Hmm.
Nobody's figured it out. Lazy stuff. All right. Some smaller news here. Wayne Simmons sounds like he has officially retired from the game of hockey. Wayne the Train, Sabres legend, played what?
Sabres legend.
6, 7 games? 7 games as a Sabre?
I thought it was 17, but it was the
17. He
COVID.
played 17 games with the Sabres.
It was
No
the
shots.
it was the COVID year, right?
It was
When we got
it
him.
was the shortened season.
The shortened season when everyone went into the bubble and the Sabres missed by
Oh my
like a
god.
couple of points.
Dude, I thought it was like a handful. I got to see how many he played.
No, I don't think it was
It was
17.
7. It
It
was
was
7.
yeah, I
7 game.
think
Oh
yeah.
man.
I was gonna
Man,
say
if he had played
17 is
17 games, then man, like my memory is just, oof.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
seven
about right.
sounded
He did not even
correct.
score a goal with us.
He had 1 assist, right?
Yep, 1 assist.
1 assist. I still remember it. It was on a. He just threw it at the net and like Jeff Skinner tipped it, and that was. You make one of those
His o-
funny like
His only
Wayne
highlight.
Simmons Sabres highlights, and then just 2 seconds later, thanks for watching.
For you plus minus fanatics, he finished with a -4 rating with the team.
God.
Thank you for your service, King.
I
You
can't
could
believe
rest now.
we bought at that deadline and we couldn't even
We
make
did.
a 24 team playoff
Dude,
bubble.
I remember I was a freshman in college and I had class that day, and I was literally listening through my classes to WGR because we were like, or we were in a, we were kind of in a conversation for the playoffs. So the rumor was, oh, the Sabres are going to be buyers. So my whole day was me just earbuds in, sitting in like some prerequisite class and just like refreshing my feed. I'm like, what did they do? Did they do anything? What
I remember
happened?
that was actually a crazy NHL deadline. Like
It
I don't remember
was, yeah.
I don't remember any like super specific trades, but like I remember it was like a good one in
It
recent
was an
memory.
active deadline.
And I also remember I remember there was rumors that like the Sabres were ready to move on from Ristolainen, and I think they really wanted Trocheck, and I think they really thought they put in a good offer for him, which would have included Risto. But then I think what was it? Florida sent him to Carolina,
Hmm
so I think that was the deal, and I remember that would have been a big one. I wonder if you trade Ristolainen and you get Trocheck, I think you probably make that bubble.
Vinny Trocheck was the guy I wanted at the deadline. It just
Yeah.
didn't work out.
Nope. And never forget, obviously that was the deadline they got Cahoon, they got Wayne Simmons, traded away Rodriguez and Connor Sheary, and don't forget Botterill was on the hunt for one Josh Anderson. So that would have been one hell of a deadline in hindsight. Would not have worked out so well.
Mm.
On to some more really unfortunate news, but Philip Hedl his season is over for the New York Rangers. He was battling back from, I believe, some concussion type injury, and he was just at a Rangers practice. I believe he made contact with someone, and he just dropped to the ice in really scary fashion. The Rangers would announce that his season is done. So scary stuff there. I mean, that's the type of injury. It's almost like the Kyle Okposo saga from way back when you're wondering if this guy is even ever going to play again. So hopefully everything is okay with him. But the other strange part of the New York Rangers is Darren Dreger on Insider Trading reporting the trickle down effects of this being because Hedl is a pretty impact player for the Rangers. They might be willing to trade Capo Caco to get an impact player back in return.
The untouchable, right?
Isn't that something?
Isn't
Wow,
that fun?
they
No,
might
you
be
can't
willing
trade
to.
him.
They might be willing to trade this guy who's at 20 points is his career high.
At the time,
Wow.
he had a good season last year. I think him and Lafreniere both had 40 points, so it's a good year. But it is very funny. He has like 6 points in 20 something games this year. It's just funny to look back on. It really is. Obviously, like he was the one. Like at the time, way back in the summer of 2021, peak of the Eichel discourse. Okay, like you just took Alexis Lafreniere first overall a year ago. I get not wanting to part with him, but man, Rangers fans like putting their stake in the ground over Capo Caco it was so annoying. It was such an annoying time to be a fan.
And they still thought they were going to get Eichel
And
out of it.
and it wasn't just the fans. Like it was Chris Drury too. He did not want to give up anything for Jack Eichel or even Sam Reinhart. Like you give up like there is, you could have built a Vegas level trade back then. I think you could have traded.
Yeah.
I mean, if you package, Kako was probably just as valuable as Krebs was back then, and I don't know, Alex Tuck, is that maybe like Ryan Strome or someone? Like obviously not, he's not better than Alex Tuck, but like he's that type of roster player. I don't know. Like Jack Eichel could very well be a Ranger if they weren't so uh, ignorant about their prospects, I guess. I don't know. It's just funny because like what's his
Yeah.
value at this point in time? How much is he going to get them?
Not that
A bag of
much.
pucks.
Best case scenario, you're looking at like a lateral move, like
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
a change of scenery for another change of scenery. Or he's a part of something bigger. Like he's not the main piece. Definitely not.
Hey, you
No.
know what? You know what? Our second line wing just opened up. Make a
That's
lateral
some,
move. Yoki
that's
Haru's on the way out. Yoki Haru for Kako. I don't know if they need defensemen, but it's just an example.
mm-hmm.
It's a Kevin Adams type move. Take a chance on someone.
I guess. Well, speaking of trades, the Columbus Blue Jackets. So top prospect David Jiricek was recently called up, played some NHL games, did fairly well, and then he was just sent back down to their AHL affiliate. And he had some comments in the media which have kind of sparked something. Long story short, he doesn't think he should be down there. He thinks he should be up with that Columbus team. Uh, Obviously, the Blue Jackets are not doing so well, so I can see why he would think that. So it's interesting because it's a top prospect. Like he's good. He's a very good defenseman, and obviously, if you're the Sabres, he's kind of everything you need. At least generally speaking. Like you look at the Sabres' right hand depth chart, Jiricek immediately becomes your most touted player on the right side. Um, and that it kind of makes sense. Columbus definitely could use more scoring. I think now that Adam Fantilli just went down with a bit of a long term injury, so they're back to Boone Jenner as their first line center. I think they could use some forward talent, especially at center.
Boone
So
Jenner.
let's make a deal, Columbus.
That'd be
That'd
cool.
be that'd be
That'd
really
be cool.
interesting.
Swap. Would you
But
would you trade Matthew Savoy or Yuri Kulik like straight up 1-for-1 prospect swap?
I do
Yeah.
Savoy. Yeah.
You want to do
Either or.
Kulik?
Either or.
I'd probably still I don't know enough about Jiricek, but I probably would do it, but I would think about it more.
Yeah, I'd have some reservations about Kulik, but I feel like the Blue Jackets kind of have their quote unquote Matt Savoy comparable in, I mean, I'm not comparing him, but like isn't Johnny Gaudreau kind of like how Matthew Savoy is expected to, play? Obviously not to that level, but they have like,
Because they're
similar.
both small.
Yes, correct.
They're both small.
Um, but yeah, I'd more likely than not trade either of those guys for him. I mean, it's a need in the organization and you have all these prospects. It's like it'd be a good move.
It's and you're basically getting another prospect back. Like it's not
Yeah.
like you're getting older. But I think the one thing that I saw on Twitter is that he wants to be, wants to be on the top of the one of the power plays. Obviously he would not have a spot there. He
Yeah,
No.
really
that
wouldn't.
is yeah, that is the one interesting part. I mean, maybe there's a scenario where they work him and Owen Power. But yeah, power play time would be pretty sparse here, so that would probably be maybe the one caveat. Um, the other type of trade I think you can maybe consider is possibly Middlestat. If Columbus wanted an NHL player, maybe that's the move you make for him. I don't know. All
Perhaps.
hypotheticals. There's no confirmed interest here. It's just Columbus is obviously not in a good spot organizationally, and that's a situation that you can maybe take advantage of. All right. Let's talk about Christian's favorite subject, NHL expansion.
Uh,
So, two big things coming out of the expansion sort of sphere in basically the last 24 hours. We'll start with Utah. Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith formally asks the NHL to begin an expansion process to Salt Lake City. And then today, Kevin Weeks tweets out that exciting news from Georgia. Forsyth County is about to greenlight an arena project, which obviously would be a significant step towards an expansion NHL team. So Salt Lake and Atlanta both making strides.
I mean, the more I think about it, I'm like, it's like inevitably it's gonna happen. So you might as well live with it. But it's like what I'm worried about is A, like watering down the talent pool, and like B, we're gonna have if we have to go through four more expansions, that means we could possibly be losing up to four unprotected guys on our roster, which is annoying. And also, it's going to make it more difficult to make the playoffs at the end of the day. I mean, unless they go to 36 teams, which is also possible, they might add one in Quebec and maybe they put one in Houston at some point. If
They're
they
gonna
go to
have to go to
36 teams,
36. Yeah.
yeah, if they once they go to, I'd say they probably do go to 36. You got to either expand the playoffs or, I mean,
I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a return of the play-in if they go
yeah,
up 4 teams. Wouldn't be a
That'd
huge
something.
plan. I don't know if they'd
Yeah.
go to 24, but maybe they would have some first round bye sort of
Well,
thing.
think about what the NBA does now. They have a plan. They have I think they have like a 1 game plan. Like I think
Yeah.
it's like the bottom 4 seeds, or not the bottom 4 seeds, the last
Yeah,
four
well-
seeds that are technically in the playoff race. I don't know how it works.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
well,
hate that. I think I think it'd be fun to do a plan.
Who was the player? Was it the Grizzlies? The guy who the team won a play-in round and the guy was celebrating like
Oh
like
yeah, it was
Yeah.
Patrick Beverly
Patrick
Yeah.
Beverly. That's
on
who.
the Timberwolves, I think.
Yeah.
It was the Timberwolves.
All I can think
Yep.
about is the one meme. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, it like Christian said, it's inevitable. They're gonna do it. The business, the league makes a ton of money from this sort of process, and it opens up new markets. And hey, I'll give credit. I guess it's good markets to tap into. I know
Yeah.
people are gonna be sort of hesitant to Atlanta for the third time, but we've been on record kind of talking about it. It's not really the fans' fault with either of the teams that they had previously. And Salt
Mhm.
Lake, that's pretty good market to tap into. So expansion does seem to be on the horizon. Whether
What
we
are,
like
what
it
are
or
they
not.
thinking? Like next season, 2 seasons away, 3 seasons?
I think
Probably be
they
a few.
I think they announced Seattle I think them and Vegas, they announced a full season before the actual process.
So
I
at least
believe.
2 seasons.
At least 2 seasons, I would say.
Okay. I mean, if you go to 34, you like have to go to 36. So
Pretty
I
much.
mean,
Yeah.
I think I guess you don't want to bring in 4 new teams all of a sudden, but at the same time, like kind of get it over with. Like 2 teams 1 year, then 2 teams another year. Like I don't know, just kind of do
9
it.
teams a division. And
Yeah.
then top 4 make the playoffs outright. And then maybe there's um honestly,
2-team playoff.
I think they should move away from the form this and for let me preface by saying the Sabres have never played in the playoffs under this current wild card format. I think if they're gonna um if they're gonna expand, they should realign the playoff format into what it was before the wild card. So top 4 teams in the division make the playoffs, and then you have the maybe like the fifth seeds in the division all playing in like a play-in, or maybe like the fifth and sixth get to play in the play-in or something with the conferences. I haven't given it much thought, but that should probably be around what it should be. I don't like the wild card if we go to that many teams.
Hey, or you do it like baseball. Like baseball is 5. They have 6 divisions. You go to 6 divisions of 6 teams. You could break it down even further, and then it's
Oh
a
yeah.
little more. I don't
Bring
know.
back the Northeast.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
something too. I
Yeah.
think that'd actually be kind of interesting.
I don't sort of off topic here. I don't like I totally get why the NHL hasn't expanded to Quebec. Like I totally get it. But I feel like if you go like if you add 4 more teams, I feel like one of them has got to be Quebec.
You
Even if
have
it's
to go
not
back.
even if it's not an immediate moneymaker. Like I feel like you got to do it.
You
It'd be
have
an
to.
electric place
if
to play.
if you make 4 teams, they got to be somewhere in that top 4.
You
Even
got
if
to
it's
add a
the last
Canadian
team they
team.
let in. I mean, because
Yeah.
what other markets? I mean, there's other markets you could conceivably do. You could do. I mean, if you have obviously Ottawa or not Ottawa, you have Salt Lake, and then you have Atlanta. Milwaukee has been brought up. Kansas City's been brought up. You could even, I think, even Hamilton they've talked about still doing, which I don't think they'd ever do that. I mean, that's another
No,
Canadian team, anyways.
no. It's too close to like you have so many Sabres fans that live in and around Hamilton. You have so many Leafs fans that live in and around Hamilton. You have Red Wings fans that probably stretch all the way to London, and then you have Ottawa and Montreal, and especially Montreal and Toronto scattered all throughout the continent, the country of Canada and somewhere in the US. Like, who's gonna be a Hamilton fan? Are they just gonna like they might just steal fans from other people? And I think honestly, easiest team to grab from is the Sabres. They haven't been good for a very long time, but
I guess it would be the time. Would be the time
I
to do
think
it.
you give it to Quebec before you go into a new Canadian market.
Yeah, and like you just said, who would be a Hamilton fan? Like you already have a Nordiques fan base. Like
Yeah,
I went there in 8th grade. I loved it. It's a great city. And I remember talking to a local. They were like, "Yeah, I mean, we're ready. Like we have a rink. Like we want to get a team back." And that was Jesus, that was like 10 years ago. But like they gotta go if they're expanding, they have to go back there. Like they absolutely have to. They're a historic franchise. Like it's not like we're talking about like even the Thrashers, like they're not as historic of a franchise. Like everybody knows the Nordiques. Like everybody knows Quebec. If it wasn't for the Canadian dollar, they would probably already be there. It's just the economy.
Oh yeah, they probably would have never left.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the only other big market I guess I was sort of forgetting, which I feel like I guess they're probably going to go to Atlanta. They're probably going to do Utah. I would like to see them do Quebec, and then I feels like Houston is going to be an inevitability. That feels like a
yeah.
big one they want to tap into. So if that's your 4, though the only thing is there, wouldn't that all be Western? You'd have
It'd
oh no, because
be
you have Atlanta. No, I'm
yeah. It'd be
you'd have
two east, two
yeah,
west.
yeah, that'd be perfect. There's your ideal scenario. So, it is fun talking about expansion.
I was
Obviously,
gonna say it is a little exciting.
the conversation that we always have is obviously the NHL. Like the game of hockey is in such a good place right now. It's just makes you worry about you're adding another 100+ roster spots. So what is
Mhm.
that? Do you water down the game at all? But hey, maybe it survives. Maybe it's a little back to the '80s hockey where you got the top players playing against plumbers.
More
So
blowouts.
more blowouts.
The goaltending situation is gonna be
Oh
awful.
oh my
It's
god,
gonna be so
dude,
bad.
you're gonna
It's gonna be so bad.
you're gonna have like
You're gonna have
Dustin
to
Tokarski starting for the Atlanta Thrashers.
you're gonna have
Oh
to
my
shrink the
god.
size of the net or something.
Oh my god. What do you think league average is gonna be?
Oh,
Wow.
it's gonna
You
go
might
up.
you
For
might
goals against, it's
you
gonna
might
go up.
you might dip into like 890. Like what I think average is 900. You might go to no, it might even be even more. If you by the time you get to 36 teams, your average goaltending might be like in the 880s, which is nuts. That
It's
is
not it's great.
nuts.
Yeah.
That is oh my god. That would be fun.
Ooh.
That would
Lot
be
more
fun.
scoring.
That just made me think like
They might have to
if
get rid of the Vesna winner because nobody would deserve it.
that just made me think like if there's really 4 expansion drafts, and let's just say we extend UPL, we're probably gonna lose one of our goalies.
We could.
Assuming it's
Yeah.
UPL and Levi in the future,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
probably
really.
gonna lose one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like by the time they get in this league, conceivably, the Sabres are going to be a good team. So you do wonder who's going
Hold
to
your
end up
tongue,
getting
Jonah.
who's going to be getting poached is the question. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Let's just not lose another Will Borgen. I'm still not
Yeah.
over that.
That was tough.
All right. Before we shut things down, I guess we can give you an update. Elias Lindholm is headed to the Vancouver Canucks. And it
Mhm.
sounds as if Andrei Kuzmenko is headed back to the Calgary Flames, and it also sounds like Flames prospect or Canucks prospect. How do you say this? Hunter. Oh man, that's a Brew. Is it Rustuvich? I don't know. Apparently, he leads. He's the OHL's leader in points by defenseman. So big deal there. Yeah,
Bristevich?
Brustevich. Is that how you say it? I'm
I think
not
it's
good with.
Bristevich. I don't
Yeah,
know.
works
It's there's
works
a
for
lot
me.
of there's a
Works for
lot of
me.
consonants in that name.
Yeah. But obviously a pretty monstrous deal there. Good old All-Star break blockbuster. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the final deal is there. Actually, we did just the Flames just tweeted out the entire trade package. So the Canucks acquired just Elias Lindholm, and the Flames acquire Andrei Kuzmenko, Hunter Brustevich, Johnny Germo, a 2024 first round pick, and a 2024 conditional fourth round pick.
Jeez.
Glad the Flames
Pretty
got
big
that
trade.
conditional fourth in there.
That's
So
a
that's
oh,
pretty
okay.
pretty big deal. I don't know
I
much
think
about is it if it's Germo or Yermo. Don't know much about him. But geez,
I'm s-
the Flames getting Kuzmenko. If this Pristuvich kid is as good as his numbers in the OHL say, and a first, that's pretty
they got
decent business
Hall
by
in
the
return.
Flames.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
say a lot of people are saying Flames fleece.
they
Uh,
did. I think they
well,
did.
Canucks, the Canucks also I mean, Lindholm's a pending UFA, and it sounds like, from what I'm seeing, kind of right now, he hasn't really been doing as well since Kachuk and Gaudreau left. So he might have been a byproduct of them.
The Canucks took all of wait, you said Lindholm is a UFA at the end of the year?
Yeah, they have to extend
They
him.
did all that for a rental?
I would assume they're gonna. I mean, I assume you make a. I mean, the first round pick isn't even conditional. I'm gonna assume they want to extend him, but
Dude, it'd be so funny if they if he didn't resign and he
it's
left.
like the Tyler Bertuzzi thing from last
Yeah.
year. Yeah, I guess that confirms Calgary selling though.
Yeah.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. They still got supposedly Tanev was a part of this deal at some point, but I guess they want to get him in his own deal. So stay tuned for him. Noah Hannafin's a UFA. Should be an interesting deadline as we approach. Only about I think a month. I think we're a month out. It's like a few days into
Mm.
March, I think. But I think we've gone on long enough here. Um, like I said, we'll probably be recording this weekend, doing our mid-season grades. So stay tuned for that. The next time the Sabres play, I believe it's Tuesday. I think they're back at home against the Dallas Stars. So yeah, I guess we will talk to you guys Sunday. But other than that, if you want to follow us on Twitter, follow us at the Sabre Report. Follow us on Instagram at the Sabre Report. Follow us on TikTok. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you want updates for the pod, follow us at Sabre Report Pod. But if you guys got nothing else to say, I think we can pretty much sign off for this one. We'll see you guys next time, and go Sabres.
Go Sabres.
Go Sabres.